There we go. It's done now. So interesting things with recruiters. Oh god, so many things have gone on. So
hiring is really as a whole.
The whole thing. So obviously I've had lots of good experiences where you get the recruiter comes into the office with you, sits down, you go through it, you perhaps talk and introduce a couple of existing members of staff and say these are the kinds of people I'm after getting as well. They really kind of come in to understand the business. They'll talk about the project with you, understand what the project is, and then it might be a couple of days till they come back to you, but that's fine. I have no problem. Normally when you're recruiting, you're not literally saying, I want someone tomorrow, I want the right person. I'm normally willing to wait, even if it's kind of a month, 2 months, to get the right person come along.
You're good then.
But obviously there are places that rush and say, I just want 10 people, like at the moment here, the current place. I do consultancy work, and I'm consulting at the moment, and they're doing a big, if I say big, they're after 5 developers over in Exeter. They've basically said just get people in. There are 4 juniors, 1 senior, which I think the mix is wrong there, but that's their decision, I guess. So 2 juniors are going to start next week, having started recruitment just over a week ago. So in 2 weeks to turn around and start recruiting people, that seems very quick. There was supposed to be a first interview, a second interview, and all the rest of it, but they just literally had a first interview, which was me talking for 5 minutes just to validate their CV, and they've just hired them off the back. When I said, I'm happy to go for a second interview with this person, you think, wow, that's
let's just recap.
That's quite a rush.
So you said you're happy with the first interview to move on to the second.
Yeah, and when you actually start going into the technical side and understand their technical background more, rather than the first interview was just validating their CV, because these days I just get used to so many poor CVs, and that's past experience that comes into play there. So you think, okay, I pretty much just talk to everyone that puts a CV in front of me. I'll just say, yep, fine. If there's a CV in front of me, I expect that the recruiter has done a little bit of research and they're appropriate, but I just like to take 5 minutes, just validate that it is someone that I want to see. But yeah, this place, it's just gone on the 5-minute validation of me saying, I'm happy to talk in person. I've not even seen what these people look like. You don't even know what they look like right now. You just heard their voice over a telephone. Not that looks should matter or anything like that, but at the end of the day, you want to actually sit in front of someone, see how they interact, do they smile, are they the sort of person you want to put in front of other clients maybe, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm a little bit concerned, because that's a bad recruitment experience, but not from the recruiter's point of view, but that's from the organisation just driving forward going, great, okay, yep, he said yes, he wants to see these people, let's get them in. You just think, wow, that's too quick. So I like to wait. I've got no problem with interviewing lots of people. I like to be quick about it, but I'd rather wait and get the right person in to do the job than just get the first person in to do the job.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but we also help developers in a very good way as well, because we were actually speaking about this earlier. We prep them, like we have serious conversations, what of things they should say in an interview or how they should present themselves. You always make sure that you say, I for example had a developer, he would refuse to wear a suit, so I was like, okay, you whatever Bill or I don't know, like any name, do whatever you want, but I always tell my candidates, or like generally the people, to go in with a suit and a tie, even though you're a developer. But then he didn't want to, fine, okay, he didn't want to, but we really also put a lot of effort into getting to know them, because you want to know their desires, their ambitions. You really, actually, I have still friends now that were my candidates. They text me every day, like send me pictures of their dogs or whatever, and we really invest a lot of time to actually get to know the developers. If you are, I would say, if you care a little bit.
It's the personal interest.
Yeah, and then of course, and then you prep them and you actually tell them what to say or how to behave, to actually, of course, a little bit push them, but also to give them a little bit of self-confidence, because some, especially developers, are lacking this or could lack this, so you want to actually boost them up so they actually get the job as well.
And also because they're kind of presenting you as well when they go to the interview. Yeah. Only thing I would add there, I mean, it depends on the company. That's why the recruiters kind of, if you're external especially, you need to know the culture, because if you're a big corporate consultancy, you might want to see the developer in a suit, but if you're not and you go there in a suit, you might be like, okay, this developer does not suit our culture. We're here with woolen socks and just chilling. So that's why it's important to know.
It was of course where I would recommend to go in with a suit. So
and I've got to second that. Is in I wear a suit when I go for an interview, even if it's a more relaxed place.
Because you also feel more confident.
True.
You feel like more pretty, handsome. Sorry.
More professional.
More professional, yeah.
When I'm hiring people, even though I might turn up in jeans and a hoodie, I want them to make an effort on the interview stage. So I usually expect people, maybe not full suit, but at least to have a jacket and a shirt. Okay, they might be wearing jeans and some shoes, but I like them to make an effort. I don't expect them to wear it on the day job, but for the interview, you like to think they've made an effort. They've had a shower, had a shave, done their hair. And some people turn up really scruffy and they're trying to say, well, I'm the smartest because I'm really scruffy. I'm like, no, that's from the movies. I don't think that's like it's real. You don't see developers hiding in the basement, no windows, no light. And and developers need to be able to talk to people. They need to be able to present. Like, I'm not talking about 50 people, but to 3 or 4 people about something they're working on or an idea they have. And if they can't, and I come back to Andrew's point about they need to be on the phone. Some people are more confident because they can just say what they want, but when you're in front of someone, you want to see what they really like. And can they articulate? Do you think they can communicate with the team? Because as developers, we don't just work with other developers. We work with technical writers, designers, architects.
You work with the client directly as well, doing business analysis work and understanding what it is the requirements are. You work with a big group of people. And obviously you build up to that. The juniors, they tend to be a bit more protected from it, and they'll start by kind of eking them in, but eventually with lots of experience you expect them to be pretty much on the forefront of any project that's going on, and be able to hold their own in a meeting as well, to be able to explain at the right time what it is that they feel you should be doing for that project. So yeah, very important to be able to communicate well, and also to be able to convert that kind of business speak into technical speak as well, and be able to transition between the two, because that's quite a talent as well.
Absolutely. So you've got a question on the live stream, and I'm really excited about this question because it's one of my personal favourites. It's really important. It's what my streams are usually about, so you probably guess what the question is. I'm going to read it directly, and it says, I'm going to pronounce the name wrong, but Shogun, I hope I pronounced that right. Thank you very much for the question. They ask, does open source contribution help in getting hired? So I'm going to say yes, and so I'm just going to jump in and give my quick opinion, and I'd love to hear everyone else's. So I say yes. When I get a CV, if it's got a GitHub link at the top, it's got active open source contributions, no matter how small, or people say, it's going to be something big and feature, or for Angular or React, no. It can be simple documentation, it can be typo improvement, it doesn't really matter. I want to see that, and I want to look at their work, because from that I can tell, do they care about improving a project? It doesn't matter if it's theirs or somebody else's, they want to make improvements. Even if it is just adding that missing line of documentation that is an assumption being made by a more senior developer that's just obvious, so to write to them. So they want to help someone else, they want to contribute forward. How when they know the process of submitting a pull request to an open source project and that. The amount of times I've seen really good developers that can code, and I say, well, that looks really good, just raise a pull request and I'll have one more scan over it. How do I do that? It's like, it might not be an open source project, we still go through the same cycle. So I don't have to worry about that. I've gone through that. Also, I interviewed once a developer who showed me their pull requests or open source projects, and technically they were amazing. And as you dug further deeper, and someone asked the question, why did you do it this way? Have you thought about this? And there's just 2 different ways of doing it. Neither one was better. But they just F and blinded back, just say, mind your own, do their business, it's my PR. And I was thinking, well, you can't work like that. You need to kind of justify why you've done that. I'm not saying write a whole paragraph, but like one sentence. And it's good to have those discussions. So I believe open source is important for so many reasons. But I'm really interested to hear others. So if you got a CV, I guess, and it had GitHub on it, and the developer was really passionate about open source, would you rate that higher than anyone else's, or would it not affect it at all?
I think it really depends on the job spec.
Yeah, it does.
There are some clients that really want it, and then others, like in my industry, they don't care. Like in automotive with C++ and SQL and Spice and automotive Spice, they look so much more in everything else. So they wouldn't necessarily. I think that's with all languages that you learn, or all technological things that you highlight in your CV, because you have to adjust it to what the client or the recruiter is looking for.
Okay.
I would say, but
Mhm.
maybe
I
you
need
see
to
it
hear from all of
differently.
you on this because this
Yeah,
is really
yeah.
important to me.
Yeah. For me, I would have 1 year ago or 2 years ago, I would have said the same because our clients externally, they don't come for us to look for these things. They then maybe behind they might go,
Yeah.
but now internally, absolutely, always. Like I wouldn't say that okay, I prefer another CV if this one doesn't have it or it's not as active or something, but 100% that is a plus, and that is something, even if it's not me going into your code and looking it in GitHub or something, but it's gonna be the technical interviewers, our developers, that 100% they're gonna go through it and look into, okay, what are you also like interested, what's your passions, like how do you develop yourself exactly, like how do you work with that, and yes, so 100%, yes.
Yeah, no, I would say like it comes like at the end, like I think this is one of the main things, like what we were talking about too, like those are the things how you can stand out, those are the things you can kind of show. And I think sometimes I have a lot of feedback, like, because then of course we also go to the ones like we interview, we send them to our clients, and then we call them again after the interview, like how it went, because then also it's important for us to know, like, not all the interviewers, like if you go internal, like, you never know who you meet. It might be CEO, it might be another developer, it might be a recruiter who you meet there. Sometimes, and actually many times, I feel like that like feedback from developers going and being like the conversation was really, we didn't go into like technical stuff or we didn't go into this stuff. And I think if you have something like that to show, it's easier to go straight away to the point, especially if you don't meet, I mean, maybe if you meet someone really not technical, that's their company's way of doing it. But if you meet someone technical, that's the way you can get into business in a way, like you're not just talking about, oh, the weather is like this, and then we have like a nice coffee room there, and like somebody came back to me like, I know they have a coffee room, I know they play golf during their free time.
Yeah.
I don't know about there, because like that's kind of way you can also be like, oh, I've done this by the way, and then you can get talking about that, and that's what I'm interested in. What do you do there? So you can kind of challenge the company also.
Yeah,
I'd say.
Yeah.
It is a two-way street. I mean,
Yeah.
interviews are, I think we'll probably point out later on, but I think it's a two-way street. I feel I interview more the company than they interview me, but I think it's a bit awkward. So not awkward, a bit weird. When I come out going, I asked like 20 questions, they asked like one.
There should be a balance.
It should be a balance, absolutely. And I get concerned when you don't dig in more. I think, well, why don't they? Maybe because I just talk so much and I've already given them that.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Give them all the answers.
Yeah. Well, what do you think, Andrew? Open source?
Open source is definitely worth putting on your CV. So, as I mentioned, interviewed a few people recently, mostly for junior roles, so they haven't got much to show in the way of experience. There might be a little bit saying, this is my education, I did these things, or more recently, for one of the ones that surprised me a lot, he's had a background in, let me get this right, in betting. He's been working behind sort of betting tables and so forth for a number of years, about 10 years. And he decided that he wants to change industry and get involved in something different. So he's been teaching his kids how to code and working with them on their school projects, and then started about a year ago to actually create his own GitHub account and was coding and putting things up on GitHub, made his own website on there and so forth. But he didn't actually put any of that on his CV. The CV was really empty. I mean, it was literally about 2/3 of one page. But nevertheless, I thought I'll have a chat to him. As I said, I talk to everyone at the end of the day. And I asked him literally, so what is it you've been doing outside of sort of the betting jobs and the permanent work you've got, looking at your kids and trying to help your kids out with their coding and taking them off to hackathons and things. So he did mention a few of those in his kind of summary of where his interests lie. But he said, oh yeah, no, I've been doing some coding. I've been doing a few code school exercises, or some of the free code camp stuff that you can do. And he had his own GitHub account. I said, oh, okay, can you pass me over the link for it? So I opened up the GitHub account. There's about 30 projects on there that he'd started. And you can see from where he'd begun and what he was doing now. He had his own personal website on there using GitHub's hosting setup and all the rest of it. And you thought, wow, this he's doing all the right stuff, and you can see the journey he's going on. And that tells me that he's progressing, he's got the ambition there, he's got the passion there to do it. Whether or not that passion dies out is hard to tell. You never know with these things, because once you get stuck into a job, it can start to drain you a bit, becomes a bit monotonous depending on what people ask you to do. But he's got the right start. So yeah, he was someone I said, you know what, I'd love to hear more and see him for a second interview, which never happened. But nevertheless, I think he's one of the people that has been told to get started. So
Okay, cool.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely put it on there. And again, whenever I look people up, like I get the CV, get the name, and I'll try and see, can I find out if they've got a GitHub account. If they haven't put it there, I'll still go and have a quick look. It's easy to look and search for someone's
I
name.
would prefer they just put it, like, it's not trying to get blood out of stone, right? It just makes my life easier. So, but I do have a Google.
It's not always clear because people put different names on there as well, don't they? Which doesn't help. So be yourself as well on these places. Help people find you, because it's all about being found, so people can understand what you're about.
Absolutely. We've had another great question, which is kind of related. It's about hackathons. Do hackathons help? And again, a favourite one of mine, because my wife says I work to go to conferences and hackathons, and that's what I love doing. So, to give you my opinion, I'll start off with mine, is yes, hackathons really help for so many reasons. Again, I think I'd rather hire someone from a hackathon, because if you've been working long hours, you're hungry, you're tired, and you're stressing, because you've got to do that presentation to another 120 people, but you get along well with those people, then in that really difficult situation, then in an office place where it's not as stressful, and you're not as tired, and you're not as hungry, you're going to get along with them fine. So I think that removes that when you work with people. So I think that's great, and you get to see people's true colours. Competitive hackathons, someone mentioned competitive hackathons. I like them less so, because I find people will sell their own mother to win. I went to one where the first prize was £250,000, and literally, if someone went to the toilet for too long, they just got ousted from the team. They're not part of the team, they've gone for too long. And it's like, how does that work? So we prefer going to more, like, they still have prizes. The last one I went to was £10,000 first prize, but it was still collaborative. I mean, people still swap teams on the second day. And it was pretty relaxed. So I think, I don't go to hackathons that prize would be more than, like 10,000 is still good, but when you divide it by 4, it's 2.5. It's not like huge. So I prefer, collaborative hackathons, and we've won our fair share, and we could talk about for ages, we won't. But I love hiring people from there, and I love seeing people who've gone to hackathons. I think that's important. And if they've gone to hackathons, you usually know someone who knows them, so you can kind of get, what does this person really, really like? Because everyone can have a facade and be nice for the first few weeks, and then, it turns out not so good. But how does that affect, I guess, someone coming through the recruitment side? I'm purposely doing me first and you last, so we can sound it. If you want to mix it up, then
There you go.
but yeah, what are your thoughts? If someone said, activities, regular hackathon, goer, that's a word. But is that, do you think that's a positive, or you just really skim over it? Would you mention it to the client? Does it depend on the client?
I think external you wouldn't necessarily mention it. You would probably ask a little bit the candidate, the developer, about their experience and you get to know them through this also a little bit better. In external, I mean, I can only speak for external. Clients get the CV too, and then if they want to ask, then they can ask. If not, not. But I wouldn't necessarily highlight it, to be honest, because it's, of course, it's a challenge and everything, but it's not essential for what the client, because the client basically what they are looking at really is just what their keywords are. So C++, .NET, automotive spice, has he done something with radar or LIDAR, and you don't necessarily do that on him, right? So
I could imagine that there comes the difference is that, like, externally you don't have that network in the company necessarily. If you're really lucky you might, but you don't really, so that's why it's probably more like, I could imagine internally then you might have people like, oh, you might know him or you might know her, and you get into more conversation. With us, I think, like, our CVs they have to have those certain words, like this is what they've done, so that they are kind of like acknowledged, and then after that those kind of things come more important internally.
I mean, if you have really a company that is really geeky and you know it, or they are really like interested in hackathons and you know it, then of course you will highlight it because it's a plus point for their culture, for their company, etc. Other than that, probably.
So if I was to ask a slightly different question, so if you would look at the ratio of clients that you work with, and you say how many of those clients are focused purely on the technical skills and how many are focused more so on, say, the soft skills to support the technical skills, what would you say the ratio is? Would you say it's a very high percentage that they only care about the technical skills, or is there maybe there's a trend changing, or what's the opinion on that?
I would have said 50-50.
Yeah.
So a year ago it was so much like it was like a trend thing, like more about like really understanding the softer skills and these things, but still it was like 50-50, I would say.
Maybe it is like also like when you're external recruitment, like companies kind of evaluate you a little bit what you were saying at the beginning, like kind of like how we evaluate their technical skills. So maybe coming from externals, especially, they kind of like they get really disappointed if it's a good person without like those technical skills. So like for us, it's maybe I felt like as external, it was really important to have those technical skills that they are there.
Yeah.
But I would say also it's more and more. I felt like a trend and like those like companies kind of emphasizing those skills, but then yeah, that was really something we could then help, because we had talked to them maybe like 5-10 times before they went to an interview. So we can kind of tell like this is the person, this is how they are, and sometimes getting that personality out in the first meeting, that's the challenge. And I felt with at least developers I talked to, some of them exceptional, some of them that was the challenge, and that was to like get so the client doesn't be like, they are not like, okay, well this is the personality we are looking for. So yeah, definitely trend in that sense.
So I think I understand how you filter out on the personality side. I think that's really good, right? You want to make a good fit. How do you filter out on the technical side again? So you know that when you get involved in tech, you come to events like this, which I think is great. It shows it shows you're standing out. We're talking about how developers stand out, and I think this shows how recruiters stand out, because you're talking at events, you're going the extra mile, you come and do live streams and videos and so forth. But I think that's really important. That helps your your personal brand. It shows that, like you mentioned, you're passionate about this sort of thing. On the technical side, how can you tell if the developers basically lying? They do. How do you have any tips or tricks, or if not, no, it's fine. And there's not the right or wrong answer. I'm just curious how you filter out in addition to the personality. So say we're on the phone and you meet up. So you meet up and like this person's great. How do you know I'm not I know that I can talk the talk and not walk the walk? Is it just with years of experience? Do you just kind of suss if someone's kind of trying to use buzzword, bingo buzzwords?
Yeah.
Or is it trying to get them to online tests and things? Is there a lot of that goes on? I know in the past there was a lot of people that they were very focused on, they're going to do this online test.
I'm not a big fan.
I
don't do them.
Yeah.
If someone was to do online test, I'm not interested.
Yeah,
because online test is not a practical thing. It's more like at university. Sort this data in the database to do that for me. Why would I do that? I'm not a C++ engineer to be working at the low level stuff. I'm a web dev. So
I have to be honest. I mean, I don't understand all the technical stuff. That's why we have the technical interviews. Like internally now, especially. Of course, I'm like passionate about this and I'm interested in cloud. What's happening? But I don't understand the code. Like I don't. If I guess I have this semi feeling of okay, kind of. Because I've done so many interviews for these specific roles that, of course, if you're talking kind of outside of everything, I can like catch that. But I'm not gonna be there like, yes, I understand completely everything what you say. That's why we have the technical interviews and our senior people going to really dig deeper to the technical. Of course, they have briefed me on things that, these are the things that they should answer to these certain things, or these are the features or services or things like that. But I'm not gonna sit here and say, yes, I completely understand what C++, these features. No, that's not my job.
Of course.
So
I think that the client also gives you some kind of insights on what they are technically looking for the people. So if, for example, he does C++ development, and then the client says, yeah, but he really, really had to have worked with radar, for example. Then you dig in a little bit deeper and you say, hey, have you worked with radar? And then he says, yes, of course. And then you say, okay, have you worked with LIDAR? And he says, no. And then you he says yes. And I don't know, after a while, how radar and LIDAR fits together. You know how C++ and radar fits together. You know if someone is programming HMI, how they then explain it. Because you also probe them, I guess, a little bit. You would say, okay, so I don't know, I'm really new to this, I've never heard of it. Can you actually explain me how you set up the HMI dashboard of a car? And then if they say, they start stumbling, okay, he's, so, but you only do that with people where you have a minimum doubt. I would say with 70% they are actually quite honest and they say, listen, I've actually never done this or whatever. With the one that you have a doubt, you actually go probe them in different things.
With open questions as well, because you know the people that you hired that got the job and they answered by this, so of course you understand on that level.
That's where experience can in, I guess, in that area. And I guess if you switch areas, then you have maybe kind of back and forth.
Yeah, but you would need to have to get into marketing. Big point about this. That's why niche recruiters, like really niche, who know their markets, who know their technology. Not just I'm an IT recruiter, but is it SAP? Is it C++? Is it what is it? Because then you're really all the time working with these kind of roles.
Yeah.
So that's how you then start to know about it. And so just one more thing, like there, I think if you cannot simply, just in general, like if you cannot simply explain to someone that is not as expert as you, then you don't really either know
what you're doing.
Yes. So that is also kind of a good guideline. Yeah.
No, I would definitely say that externally, like you might have in your company, like in recruitment company, so much knowledge within the company, and they have really good trainings and like other recruiters tell you like use the market, so that helps you once. But hands up, I would say that was one of the main challenges in the beginning, starting recruitment, and definitely something that like you kind of learn by mistake also. So like I can imagine that there are clients out there who have worked for recruitment companies are like, I have no idea what they are doing, like how do they test these people, like or like do they know technical skills? And I have to be honest, there are gonna be new ones, like I was a new one for
Yeah, we all were.
We all were,
I had no idea. So like it might be easy for like an agency person, especially because we don't have it so close as internally. You might have like hiring like manager telling you like this is what you could ask. Like companies are not, most likely they're not telling us so detailed. They're not gonna have such a detailed conversation about like the skills because they have the internal recruiters, they have their things, million things going on at the same time. So we get into things but technical sometimes.
And they might work with 10 other recruiters, so they're not gonna go and tell all the insights on every single thing for 10 recruiters. No, I wouldn't bother doing that as an internal.
That's a good point. So I'm looking at Andrew as well. So how many recruiters do you usually work with to hire one? Maybe just I want to flip the question around and see if someone that I'm working with 20, who do you come back?
I mean, typically it's between probably 1 and 3, I'd say, is the standard range. Depends on what you're looking for and if you haven't had some good experiences. So it's something, in a lot of cases, something we just start with 1, but then extend it out. But I'd say there's 3 probably would be the average you'll end up with. But I've also worked on roles where there's been an internal recruitment team, but they've been struggling to find people, so they go to an external people. But what they often end up doing is they'll just invite 10 different recruiters in, and they'll literally be in the boardroom, sat around the table, going, right, so what is it we're hiring for? You'll have all of them in the room just firing questions as to it, all trying to sort of fill this role, and that gets a little bit chaotic. It's also interesting to see them all interact. They don't want to talk to one another at all. And when they're in that room, all they want to do is talk to you, ask you questions, but they won't talk to one another. It's quite a strange experience when you go down that side of the recruitment as well.
It is such a competition, and they're all thinking about these like 5 shortlisted maybe candidates, thinking who is going to get that candidate first.
Yeah.
So it's a competition.
But also when you do end up with that situation as well, you find multiple recruiters will send the same people through. You then can decide, well, who got that one in first? Do I only deal with the person who got it in first? Or actually, am I going to deal with this one because I've seen the same one, but I prefer talking to this person?
Yeah.
So you don't have these kind of conundrums as well when you have lots of them. But likewise, you might have already interviewed people, I think we mentioned a minute ago, but you end up seeing that same person come through, even though you've already spoken to them, they just keep on coming back. Because it's not the recruiter's fault, but then you start to get a bit agitated as well. Because certainly when you end up actually taking the phone calls, you don't connect that they were the same person. You've seen so many. You know, that becomes a little bit nasty when you see the same people. But even when you change roles, so came to the current place, the last one I was at, interviewed a chap in November, and he was there to do a 6-month job, and I started here December time, so I just finished the other one, so we started a new one in December, and about 3 weeks later, his CV came on the doorstep for I'm here. I thought, hang on, you're supposed to be at that place for 6 months, why have I suddenly seen his CV here? Has he been kicked out? It's like,
which is
or someone that I know I've just placed somewhere else.
And it's a bit worrying when you see through contractors, you see them change like they've never been their contract renewed, you know, 3 months and 3 months, 6 months, but every place is different. Remember, once had a renewal. I appreciate that every place has been renewed so on because the contract is finished, etc. and so on. But when they've never had one renewal, for me that's an unbelievable. That might be a one-off, and they might not have got on with the person there or something like that, or there's some miscommunication, that's fine, but if all his history before that, I'll be actually concerned. I'm sure it wasn't because you hired him, so...
No, interviewed great, and the CV that was sent for, I remember it looked like it was pretty good. I mean, typically when you're looking at sort of past work experience, I'd expect as a contractor you've got 2 or 3 month roles, then you might have a longer sort of 12-month role. It'd be a bit of a mix, but if you do literally see it's only kind of 2-3 month roles all the way going on for the last few years, that does bring up alarm bells and think, okay, why have you only been doing a couple of months here and there? You might have been really unfortunate in every role you've gone to, they literally just wanted to get one thing done, you've done it quickly and effectively, and you've gone to move on, and maybe that's actually a good story to say. But it's not generally clear. If you're looking at it and going, it's 2-3 months every time for the last couple of years, alarm bells go off, you think, I'd rather get someone that's a bit more stable, willing to stick around for 12 months, because that generally means they can do a decent job.
And more complex.
Yeah, and they've actually get into some depth as well, because in a couple of months you can't get into any depth, and you're only touching the surface generally.
There's some more questions coming up in the chat, but I'm also conscious that we haven't moved very far on that list. We might have to do a part 2 or something.
Yeah, we've covered it.
Okay, good. Okay, I don't feel so bad. I'm also watching the clock, and I know people are hungry. So if anyone starts biting on someone else's arm, then you know it's time to head over.
What do you look towards next then?
So I've been speaking a lot. What kind of takes your interest? What do you think? I know we've got some CVs to look through as well. So we can kind of dissect those, some good ones and bad ones. We've also had a standout. We have kind of mentioned that with GitHub open source, with personal branding as well. And what job spec and flow, I think that's quite interesting as well. I'd like to hear. Also to give you a question. What's the process like? Technical interviews, takeaway tests, you mentioned pair programming with the team. What you could talk about as well. What are your fans talking about? What are you passionate about? Or what do you hate more or love more?
I can cover the one you just spoke about just now around process and flow, a bit of showing with my point of view.
Yeah, let's do it. I think it'd be good to answer that question.
I mean, there's 2 different styles of role you look for. So the contract role with and then within that you've got the different levels, sort of junior, midway, senior, lead, manager, whatever it is. But if I just look at it purely from a contractor versus permanent position and what the flow is, for a contractor, it's generally one quick phone interview and then potentially bring them in. The problem with contractors is they move very quickly if they're really good, so you can't hang around and wait once you find a good one. You've got to basically offer them the job. That's what they tend to expect. So often, if I think they're any good, I'll try and just do it over the phone, get it there and then done and dealt with. But for a permanent person, because the chances are they're going to be there for much longer time, they could influence and end up getting into promoted into other roles and so forth, which the contractor is not so likely to have that happen to them. Then I would be looking more to go down the kind of, I'd like to see a little bit of a test, but they've got some example code and we can just sit down and they can just take you through how it was they did that code. But I'm more interested in their thought process. That for me is a big deal when it comes to sort of the second interview, more the technical interview. What is the process they go through? Do they go straight into trying to just do the solution and write the code? Or do they try to understand it? Do they build up some acceptance criteria? Do they then look to the tests and write some tests out to say this is how we're going to evidence this complete? Are they going to go off in a conversation? What is the whole process? Because if someone just says, oh, I expect to be given the work, I'll write the code and throw it to someone else and it's their problem, I'm generally not going to be interested in going much further with that kind of conversation. But yeah, typically I'd say the contractor is probably going to be a one-off interview. The risk being that after a week you decide they're no good, you get rid of them, but that's the contractor world unfortunately. If they're no good, you just get rid of them and find another one. And generally once someone's in, it's very difficult to get rid of them because a manager somewhere says, oh no, we don't want to go through that again, we're going to keep them. But my opinion is if they're no good, I'm quite happy just get rid of them.
That's the Gary Vee opinion as well actually. He says you don't know someone until you've hired them, so hire them. If they're the wrong person, you get rid of them.
And that goes for permanent people to a degree as well. So I mean, that's why they say we've got a 3-month probation period, although legally you've got about 2 years really before you can actually
But in the first week or two, you really know if the person's
absolutely, yeah. Within a couple of weeks, you know whether you're going to invest some time. So yeah, I'm generally quite a risk taker when it comes to hiring, but I want to get it done fairly quick. I'd rather get the person in, see what they can really do, and if they're no good, move on to the next one, unfortunately. Because you just don't know, as I say, you can sit there and you can go through 30 different interviews, try and get all different angles, and even when they start the job, it's no good. You might as well, if you feel they've got the right kind of attitude, they've got ambition, passion, technically they've got a logical mindset about them, then you say, okay, you tick the main boxes for me, let's get you in, get you onto something, and just see how you get on.
I have to say, I would love that if companies all work like that. They wouldn't kind of like, I really believe in that, and like, coming from agency background, like we work with different kind of clients, and some people have such a like, I understand there are many things in business you have to take like this into consideration, especially with permanent, which I was focusing on that recruitment, and some, if it gets too heavy, it's, yeah, you lose developers, good developers. So yeah, definitely like seeing how they are in real life, like even though they need this task that you've been working somewhere for 2 weeks, and then it's like, thank you, next. But that's when you see it, because like no matter what like interview techniques we have, like how is the person, how is the personality, how they present themselves, but it's still kind of easy to keep that certain kind of act going on in the like telephone and like conversations which last maybe an hour, maximum hour and a half, compared to like when you're working, like you say, maybe you can have like hackathon or something, and there it's proper testing. But if you don't have that, you don't know how they are when they are hacked, like hungry, it's 4 p.m. and you have a new project coming on your table. Are they the ones who are like, thanks, and out the door, or really committed?
Yeah, exactly. Committed. I think that's really, really important. I'm committed to helping the team, rather than just say, hey, I've done my bit of job, and I have money.
It's very different though from contract to permanent. Like as you mentioned earlier, it's big difference.
And also within different industries. So if you look at the public sector and the private sector, and even in the private sector, you look at the public sector, right? You look at kind of so the UK, home office places, and then you look at kind of the military defence approach to things. It's all very different. And you've also then got to go through various clearances. So if you go into military defence, you're going to have to get home office clearances done. Chances are, if you had to go through some of that, they're going to want to not have to get rid of that person and find someone else, because there's a cost involved, there's time involved in doing some of those things. So even in the different industries, there's slightly different things you have to consider.
So you guys add it?
No, I lost that.
Okay,
no, I was saying in like in permanent recruitment, it's also the people then maybe also move for the job. That's another factor. And in contract, of course, they could also move, but it's more short term, or they can work from home, or they can do live streams or whatever. But when you are in a permanent role, many clients actually expect them to move as well, because they have to be on site, they have to be long term there. So of course it's also for a developer a kind of a challenge to then say, yes, I agree to this. And then maybe the client says, I love that client, but he had the request to be 1 week in Italy and 3 weeks in Germany. And of course you have then family, and you think about it, and you tell this to a developer and say, yeah, so client wants you to be 1 week in Italy and 3 weeks in Germany, and 1 week in Italy and 3 weeks in Germany, and then the developer says like, I'm doing this. Then of course, how should I handle this? But then it's of course how you look at it and how you feel about it. But you have to make sure that the developer feels comfortable as well.
So I find that interesting. So I'd always say that it's the other way around from my experience, that when I've been looking for roles, it's the contractor they expect to move around. They expect their permanent staff to be quite comfortable and happy and not have to move around and relocate themselves. I mean, I've had jobs that have sent, like I said, up to Italy, Germany. I spent not 3 months, most of my time in Newcastle, not that long, nice places as well. Because it's alright, you find some good places, but when you're walking around the streets at night, I don't necessarily need that. But as a contractor, I sort of expect that. That's kind of what I feel you sign up to as a contractor. Whereas a permanent member of staff, I expect to more be able to choose where I want to go and say, you know what, I'd like to join that event and be at that one. There's this one, whereas a contractor, you're told you're going there. So that's been my opinion.
See, I disagree. This is like going to turn into developer versus developer. Because I disagree. I prefer contracting for a whole raft of reasons. But one of the big reasons is I can choose who I work with, when I work, and where I go to work. So, when I speak to someone, yes, we get out the technical levels and that's what will happen, but I always think from the beginning that I don't want to come to London every day. 2 days to London a week is my maximum. Or work the rest from home, or not work at all if I'm from home and do 2 days a week. I am doing open source work every 2 days, so not that I want to do anything. I am doing open source work. Check my GitHub out, it's busy. And there's lots of videos on my YouTube, so I'm busy doing stuff, not just watching Netflix. So I think that's the benefit of being a contractor is you get to choose. And if the client say, if you were the client for 6 months, they say, right now we're willing to go up to Scotland for a month. If that doesn't work, or wherever, Italy or Germany, I think Germany will go. Berlin is awesome. Italy, gluten intolerant, allergic to gluten, they have pasta and everything.
Yeah, you can have gluten-free pasta.
It's true, now you can. When I went last time, you couldn't. So now you can, it's true. I was going in 2 weeks. So, yeah, I would just say, well, I'm really sorry I'm not right because of my job. Can I do a handover and pass it on to someone else? And I might stay and got a week or something. But, yeah, I don't know, I like the flexibility of being able to choose.
I think when you're doing work, you get to choose what you want to do, how are you going to go about doing it. So if you're going off to Britain, you say, I'm going to stay here, obviously. Whereas as a permanent job, you've normally got a budget you're working with. So there are other differences within. But yeah, you can, if you want to be, I'd say, slightly more aggressive, or get these press being there, and say, no, I'm not doing that, I'm doing this.
Well, it's not aggressive, I think it's
You can say that.
I'm old now, I can be assertive and choose what I'm set in my ways. I've done coming to London, to Canary Wharf, or to the Ministry of Justice every day for years on end. As a contractor still, getting the higher kind of money sort of thing, chasing that. I think now it just kind of swings around a lot. And maybe saving for things, maybe for a deposit for a house. But you know what? I want to go Canary Wharf every day. I want to sell my soul for 12, 14 hours a day and make bigger money. And then I think now when you get old like me, you kind of think, you know what? Maybe kill myself so much. Let's do something. Usually let's do something. Time to work.
I think it's now getting to that point trying to share those experiences with different people. We've gone through different pains, different angles, all sorts of different things. Now it's trying to give things back. Trying to have these conversations.
To put things forward. So there is one other subject which overlaps what we've been discussing is like culture. So we mentioned I say I want to work part-time, for example, or I want to travel, or do want to travel to some nice places. So Berlin. So I went to Berlin last year and I loved it. So clean. Trains run on time. Literally, we're standing there like 10 seconds late. And I was like, oh, this is really late. I'm like, this is late. This is like early. The train in the UK is 20 minutes late. It's on time. So yeah, I loved it there. Yeah. So what is culture to when people speak to you? How do you understand the company's culture and what do you say? I think maybe like 10, 15 years ago, it was like, we've got a pool table and free beer, that's culture. It's like, no, that's not culture. And so, yeah, what do you think is important to culture, I guess, and what do people look for, generally speaking? I guess it might be demographics. If they're younger, they want that Friday night beers, and if they're older and got family, they want to get remote working maybe or flexible time. It's really just to hear, and also what you think is.
I think in external, I'll speak again about external maybe. The same as we do screen our candidates, so developers or whatever, consultants, we do the same, of course, also for the company that we will hire for. Because it's really important. So what we establish, of course, either we meet them, unfortunately, because I had most of my jobs in Germany, I couldn't necessarily do that, but I would definitely ask like, average age, interest groups, do you have any clubs, do you organize any events? And then if they say, we have hiking events, I know what kind of people more or less, of course I don't know them inside out, but more or less you can say, or if they say, we every month we organize a sports day, or every month we organize a grill party, or whatever. So you kind of get to know the company culture just by asking some kind of questions, and you also ask directly what in your opinion is your company culture to the HR lady, because or to the managing director, and you say, listen, what's for you the most important thing? And so of course you need to have that bond to your own client or the company itself as well. If you can't be there anytime you want. Okay.
No, yeah, from my side, I think more and more is flexible working hours, remote working. Unfortunately, still a year ago, there was a lot of companies that don't offer this, and then you just gotta deal with it. This candidate is not interested to go forward because you guys don't offer remote working, for example. So I think those are, and now internally, like definitely those two are the most kind of cultural things. And more and more about the community, what you do, diversity, agile, being transparent, those kind of things. Yeah, maybe less about the Friday beers. I mean, it's a nice little thing, but it's not like, you know, the one thing that.
I think if the company has a good culture and people get along, they'll just go for beers themselves.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's not something you have to enforce. People just have to do it.
Yeah.
We worked at a place where there were one person who didn't want to go somewhere where they served beer, and so we went to a restaurant where they also served alcohol, but it wasn't just beers. It's great for me because I love to eat my drink. So for me, I was like, brilliant, your drink, I'll order some food. Usually I won't make it home after like half a beer, but the dogs on the table, on the table. But yeah, so I think it's interesting, really interesting to hear that. You know, I think it's moved a lot.
On the question. So
Sure.
You said, so there's obviously people probably watching looking for work. How much do you reckon a client, when you've been placing candidates in companies, how much do you think the client is willing to personalise the cultural aspects to the different candidates that are coming through? Do you think the clients are quite open to that? When they're writing out the job specs, they're probably not mentioning the things that they're willing to do. How do you think people negotiate some of those cultural things that they might want from their job? What's the feeling there for the rest?
I kind of have a feeling like what I speak to people, developers especially, like culture is a big thing. I think developers know exactly what they want, but companies, I feel, I'm not afraid is maybe a wrong word for it, but I'm kind of afraid to tell what they are looking for. And I feel that maybe going to that direction, or I kind of, in a way, wish it was going that direction where people, like companies don't tell so directly, like this is what we offer, like we are like, for example, we're a super relaxed company, we drink a lot here, we go for things, like you say, because like, for example, I would say personally, like that would be like, okay, well maybe not my kind of company then. Like they don't want, especially like niche markets where it's hard to get people. I feel companies are going to direction. They're like, they want to kind of hide it because they want to personalize it, or like they at least want to give that that kind of impression that they do. I'm not sure like in Excel like how much is possible because you have certain kind of people like they create atmosphere, they create a culture there. But I would say companies are kind of hiding, they're not bringing it up so much so that they would, and I hope they would do it even more, that kind of, because developers know exactly what they want, and this is kind of company, like, if I go to an interview, I've been told this, like, if I go to an interview and there's going to be someone in a suit there, I'm going to just turn away, because, like, that's not my place. And for me as a recruiter, I was a bit like, please don't do that, because I'm pretty sure this client is going to be in a suit. But, like they have this very strict, some of them, like this is what I want, like it is not going to be like this, like it's going to be like black and white building with like no plants, no like beer there, I'm walking away. So I think companies are getting more and more careful kind of that they are like willing to personalize and like and then adopt, and then they can sell like we do that, and I hope they do it even more.
I think it's good to personalise, and also I think also revisit with those people. If you're the contract is a bit different. If you're permanent, say you've gone in for 3 to 5 years, what they wanted in the first year will be very different in the 5th year. If they're over, maybe if they're not over an age, if they're not over that kind of part of their life where there's maybe more family or more, I don't know if that's sort of middle age, I don't know whether that is, but like okay, between 25 and 30, not much will change. Maybe between 30 and 35, more will change at that point. And what they wanted at the beginning might be different, so you might have to re-personalise on a yearly basis to see what people want.
And it's not just an age thing, because if you always, every Friday you go out with the same lot for 5 years, you might have like something else you want to do also. Like then that's how you can also personalize. Like okay, we've been doing the Friday beers now for 5 years, like we could try sports, we could go bowling, like we could try something else.
5 years in recruitment.
Sorry? You have 5 years in recruitment, do you? Yeah. Do you have something else?
On that note, though, I went to, so I go, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of events, etc. The Google group, the Google Cloud group, started doing something a bit different, and it was something really special last week, and actually really interesting. So when I heard it, I said, I'm not going to work with geeks and stuff. It was a workshop for 2 hours, and then karaoke and Latino dancing. And I was like, it's not going to work. It worked out really, really well. Because maybe half the people kind of got up to get involved, and half just pretended to carry on working and look over. But then when they saw everyone was having so much fun, that they went and joined in, and it's actually, I swear, 90% of people were up dancing and singing, and it was just really authentic, and really, everyone was just themselves, there was no judgment, and it was great, it was really, really good. So again, doing something slightly different. Yes, there was wine and beer there, and some lovely food. I mean, the food was unbelievable. I mean, it came out like Michelin style restaurant, kind of like slate plates with like stuff. I don't know. It was just brilliant.
Make you hungry.
Yes. But on that note, it's just gone 8 o'clock. I know we haven't covered everything. We might have to do a part 2 because I'm happy to cover more.
We'll finish with a couple of tips, maybe.
Yeah, with some actionable points.
Yeah, some of them I think we covered on the kind of GitHub and just being active in the community, the hackathons, putting the GitHub stuff on your CV.
Don't be afraid to be also a little bit different, but not too different. And still keep your CV clean. Like, I don't know how many CVs I get, and I just think, have you actually looked at it once? Like, you have to, so if you're a developer and you code, you have your rules, you have the login set open, you have the body, you have the slash, you have the replicate closes. Same thing goes with the CV. These guys or girls, like, you have the date, and you can't have the date with 15.17 something, or then the next one is 14/12. And I'm like, how can this be? How can you be so clean in coding but not keeping your CV clean?
It needs to be consistent, right?
Consistent and clean, and of course, what you said, innovative or whatever, put some technical things in as well. But we adjust so many CVs. You have no idea how many CV, and then a CV comes in and we just look at each other and we say like,
yeah, and you don't have to put everything. That's what it's also about the being clean. Like, don't put everything that you've done 25 years ago. Like, really, like, maybe it's relevant to something, but not to everything. Like, 5 years, what did you do? What was your role in the project? Yeah. Not just what we did in the project. What was your role, the action, the result? Maybe you did certifications, things like this that really kind of also guides where do you want to go next. Keep it simple.
Definitely, yeah, then we emphasize those things you want to do also in it. You might not have experience, but if you've done some own project, you have some like GitHub or something, then that would be great. Because like if you emphasize the things you're really strong at, you don't want to do. Like I've done Java for the last 10 years, I don't want to do it anymore, but it's like the biggest thing in your CV. It's really hard today to a client to be like, this is a really great, doesn't want to use Java by the way, but yeah. And if you say you're creative, for example, kind of show it in your CV. Not too creative, but like if you're like, oh, I'm really interested in like things looking good, and that's why I develop websites and like how they look, how they saw some kind of a app or something, and your CV is black and white, really the most boring font you can find. It's a little bit of a mismatch. Like you wanna like kind of show it there, obviously not too much, but keep it clear, but creative. Yeah.
True. Shall I go next? Shall we go next? Well, let's just give a shout out. So everyone say hi to Dave Harper.
Dave's
He's just joined us. Dave. Andrew's and mine who's worked with us for a while. And David says, get someone to peer review your CV. We peer review each other's code, we review it all the time, and we should do our CVs as well. So therefore, hopefully, when it gets through the recruiters.
Well, we do that for each other.
We do, yeah.
We often go out and Dave's been involved in that as well. Where we say, oh, I've just updated my CV. Could you just give me any points? Have I written something that doesn't make sense to you if you were looking at this and those kind of things? Yeah, everyone, if you're in the tech industry, you know someone.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe salesperson looks a little differently than recruiter to senior developer to CTO.
Yeah, and to getting different perspectives again really helps. My advice is pretty obvious. It's written on my hoodie. Everyone knows it. Open source. If you've got activity on your GitHub, great. If you haven't, just do it. And it could be your learning. Even if you're learning like Angular or whatever you're learning, just put it on there on GitHub. Because when I interview someone, I want to look back 2 months and see how they improve. It doesn't matter where they are now, but are they better than they were 2 months ago? If not, then I'm worried what I haven't learned. So even if things are incomplete, they should share it on their GitHub and just have their journey. And I think it's going to see 12 months. They don't want to be 1 month really busy. That's when they start looking for a job and they're trying to like be active. It's like, well, I want the history. In a month, you can't really tell very much. So yeah, that's my advice. Open source. Your CV will get to the top of the pile of GitHub link activity. The amount of people though that share a GitHub link, like, oh great, it's not a CV of GitHub link. And this is nothing, like, that was pointless.
Yeah. Have you just created it yesterday?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I have a GitHub account. Yes, but that's like saying you have an extra page in your CV where it's blank.
Yeah.
Like, there's no point, so.
Maybe they just tested which you actually go to check for.
Maybe. Go on, Andrew. Actionable.
Seeing as you've taken the stuff to do with GitHub and the journey side of things, I'll say the one thing that, if you, and this is perhaps more towards the more senior developers, I still see a lot of people that just put the first pages, all their education, all the certificates they've ever had. You think, okay, it's great to know you've done that stuff, but that doesn't tell me a great deal about what you're going to be like. Show me more your achievements. What are the things you've actually achieved during your career? And what is it you want to actually be doing? So where is the journey? Where have you come from? Where is it you want to go? They're the more interesting things about your CV. I'm not just interested in, I've got a list of skills, I've done all this education, because you might be the smartest person in the world, but if you can't show how you apply yourself, then that's not going to be much use. So, yeah, I look to see how people apply themselves, not reading the CV. So think about it from the point of view of me reading it and going, if you were taking that CV in, would you hire that person? Would you hire yourself?
That's a good question. And in the beginning, like main things in the beginning, like sometimes you open a CV and the first thing is like, my hobby is the gym, but it's not relevant to your CV actually, like nothing to do with the job you want to do, like I want a sporty community or something like that, it's just gym. And then my family is, and like just delete those or put them at the bottom, because then they are just added information, like the main things that you've done.
I think it's nice to see a little bit about what your external interests are and where you are. That will tell you a bit about how they fit into your culture. So, but definitely don't put it at the top. The top of your CV, I mean, generally it's the first couple of paragraphs of what people are going to read. The first couple of paragraphs you haven't got it right, they're not going to read the rest of it anyway.
So highest priority at the top, right? So, yeah, definitely work your way down to like not the lowest priority, like you want to keep people engaged, like to go further down. I'm food as well. So. I've got Lucas Aid with me, I haven't even opened it yet. But yes, high priority at the top. I'm really upset we didn't cover those CVs. I think we're all flaking, it's been quite a long time. We might have to save those for part 2. I really am so grateful for you all joining me and for bringing those CVs. I know we didn't look at it. I know we had technical issues at the beginning and we started like an hour late. But I am conscious of it's kind of 8:15, way past my bedtime. So there's a lot of YouTube.
Yes.
There is.
So much more.
there is a lot. I think it's really good. I think we've kind of covered quite broadly as well as gone into a few subjects quite deeply as well. So we're best of both worlds. And next time I think we'll be Siri, no, I'm not going to do and I think next time it'll be really good to continue that and look at the example CVs that we brought and see which ones are good and which ones are bad. And maybe we can think about getting tape out of Roth. I don't know. I'm going to think of something like having something a bit more. People don't mind watching the CVs. I don't know. Okay, we need to think about that. That's
The CVs and the job descriptions.
Job description is really important because so many are so bad, and I think this is where we kind of get a bit of a diversity problem that we mentioned right at the beginning. I don't know it now, but again, if the job description is written really badly, I think it's going to put off probably people that you want to hire, really people that you actually don't. So.
I think a job description is very specific. And whenever I look for stuff, I know like, if it's got 30 odd skills that someone's looking for, you've got problems going on. So you want to look at a job spec that's just got 2 or 3 bullets to it and say these are the 3 things they're after, and a little bit about some of what they're working on. And I know from a recruitment perspective, you're probably concerned if I say too much, it might identify who the client is. But it's how do you word things on a job spec that say this is what the client is actually doing, with the industry they're involved in, and where they're trying to go. And so you know, oh yeah, that's something I know I can help them get there. Otherwise, you end up having to have those conversations on the phone. As a candidate, you end up going to lots of interviews.
Yeah, I think we call it a day. I just want to say thank you so much again. This is why I should have given you your gifts now. But,
Guys, we got chocolate!
So you don't need dinner, right? You've got the dinner sorted.
Keep going right now. Snack on that for a minute.
Yeah. I'm going to hit
Thank you so
stop
much
on
for
the
having
stream.
us.
No, thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you for coming in.
The stop is somewhere. There we go. Cool. Is this one still going?